Okay. So let's talk a little bit about frequency tables. These are very important. You know how we said if you collect data, you got to be able to do what with it? You got to organize it somehow so that you can tell what it says, right? So a frequency table is sometimes one way to help you organize data. It means your data would be quantitative in nature. That means you have collected data that has what? Numbers, exactly. You would list the data into classes or intervals, and you would list their corresponding frequencies. Now, frequency just means what? How often it occurred. So, for example, let's say we were going to make a list of what day of the month, as in date, like 24th, 13th, that everyone's birthday fell on. Yes?
Do you want us to write this down?
Well, you guys got the 2.1 notes, right? So actually, there's not going to be anything to write until we get to this. So right now, we're just kind of laying some background information on what we're going to be doing with it. So if I were to take a survey through here of what would be the date for your birthday, not counting the month, just the date, 1 through 31, do you think we might get some repetition? Okay, anybody in here have a birthday that you were born on the 1st of the month? No hands. Second? Oh, already got 2 hands up on the second. Oh, I know, but I got one back there too. So I've got at least 2 people that they would answer too. What about number like 12? Anybody born on the 12th? Look at that. I got 1, 2, 3, 4 hands. So we would have some repetition, wouldn't we? And that would mean that when we have repetition, our frequency is greater than 1. Now, here's an example. Let's say after the first test, I made a frequency table of what your test scores were. And I actually do this sometimes because it's helpful for me to see how grades break down. So let's say, and I don't know why they wrote it this way. Typically, you would put 60 to 69, not 61 to 70, because that would be a D. And then frequency would be how many students had a D. And then you would have your C's, your B's, and your A's, and they would be listed out over there. That's an example of a frequency table, okay? Now, here's where your paper comes in, and this is probably as far as we'll get today. I have a list that says certain kind of tumors tend to recur, and this would be the length of time in months for a tumor to recur after chemotherapy. So let's say there's been a study done, and maybe this is checking the effectiveness of a certain type of chemotherapy on a certain type of tumor, whether it's lung cancer, breast cancer, or whatever. This would be how long it was before a tumor came back after they finished chemotherapy. Wouldn't you hate to be the guy that it was 1? Go through all of that, 1 month later, your tumor is back, okay? Some of these are much larger numbers. Now, what we're going to do is, first of all, divide this into 5 classes. Just like on the other example, we had A's, B's, C's, and D's. So we had 4 classes. We want to divide this into 5 classes. Now, in order to do that, what do you think we might need to know to be able to come up with how to set up those classes correctly? Well, let me tell you, we're going to need to know what would be the range of values. Let me go back for a second. And I want you to look at this list of numbers. I'm pretty sure that we recognize the smallest number is 1, right? Yep. What do you think is the largest number in this list? 59. Looks like 59. I don't think I see anything that starts with 60s. So it looks like 59 is the largest number involved. So what we're going to have to do is, first of all, take the difference. So how much is 59 minus 1? 58. 58. And we said we wanted to divide this into how many classes? All right, you guys got a calculator? Tell me what 58 divided by 5 is. Okay, I think I heard 11.6. Okay, so 59 minus 1 was 58. 58 divided by 5 was 11.6. Now, here's what that means. My class width, or how many should be included in each group, needs to be 11.6. But that 0.6 troubles me a little bit because my list of data didn't have any decimals in it, did it? So I'm going to need to make sure that I have enough cushion in there that I know exactly where something's going to fall. I know how to organize this. So here's the rule. When you are calculating your class width, and the formula for getting the class width is to do what? What did we just do? Get the range, the largest minus the smallest, and divide it by the number of classes that they tell. And by the way, they're going to tell you how many classes to make. Whenever you come up with that figure, whatever it is, you round up to the nearest whole number. What if it ended up being 55 divided by 5 and I got exactly 11? You know what? You still round up to 12. All right, so even if it comes out even 0.0, you always round up to the next whole number. Okay, so that means we want a class width of 12. Now, here's how, if you look at your sheet, you have class limits as the first column, correct? All right, here's how you're going to set up your class limits. You're going to put your smallest value at the first top left starting point of your first class. All right, so if you're looking at your sheet, I'm going to put this up here so you can see it real quickly. If you're looking at your sheet, goodness. Come on. Okay. Then whatever my smallest number is, I'm going to put right here in this top left corner. So this is going to be 1. Now, what did we say that the class limit was? We said we wanted to use 12. So, or our class width was 12. So here's what we're going to do. After we put the 1 there, we're going to add 12 to it. And that gives us how much? Now, here's the deal. Don't put the 13 over here. You add 12 to it, and you put the 13 as the beginning limit on the second class. Okay? So there's where your 13 would go. Now, can you add 12 to that and get the next starting point for the class limit? I want you to finish filling that part of the table in. So if I add 12 to that, how much is the next one? 25. I hope you're filling this out on your sheet because we're going to be filling out this whole table. What's going to be the beginning of the next class? 37. And then the last one is going to start with 49. Now, to get the upper boundary in my class limits can't have any overlap. So I will need to take 1 away from the starting of the second class, which was 13. What is 13 minus 1? That's going to be the upper limit of the first class because they can't have any overlap. It'll go from 1 to 12, and then the next one will start at 13. What will it go to? 24. And again, I could add 12 to 12 to get 24. I can just add 12 in this column as well, just like I did in the first one, or I can just take 1 away from the start of the class below it. 25 to what comes next? 36. 37 to, and then the last one would be 49 to what? 60. Now think about that. What did you tell me was the largest number in that list a minute ago? 59. Notice that even though we had 11.6, when we rounded up to the next whole number, we didn't go much above what our data was. So that's why it's really important. You got to round up by 1. Okay, now this is where we'll stop. You guys can work on this outside of class if you want. If not, it's going to be the very first thing you do when we come back in. You're going to need to tally the data. Okay, if you look at this sheet,